Hey everybody, this is Mark J. Ryan, and I've got an incredible show for you today. It's going to be amazing. It's an interview with a very unique and incredible person. It's about Jordan Peterson's secrets, what he does to make him so popular and how he thinks like he does. He's a phenom right now, Jordan Peterson is. So I got one of the smartest people I know and in the world to look at Jordan Peterson, and I interviewed him. I flew to Georgia to interview this man. Stay tuned. It's going to get real exciting. Be right back.
Welcome to the Mark J. Ryan Experience with your host, Mark J. Ryan, mind-body expert with over 25 years experience in NLP, hypnosis, and coaching, taking you on the road to self-discovery, exploring different parts of yourself, including spirituality, the latest research into the brain and the mind, and how it can help you attain more of what you want, including wealth and money. Mark will be coaching you in the latest technologies of change, from interesting fields such as hypnosis, NLP, and brainwashing. You'll also learn how to improve your relationships and love life. Learn the newest techniques in sales and marketing to improve your income. You'll learn all this in an easy and fun way to understand using current events. Get ready to change your life for the better with the Mark J. Ryan Experience.
Okay, welcome back. I have got an amazing interview for you today on Jordan Peterson and his secrets. A unique perspective, unlike I've ever heard before, and I'm sure that you've ever heard before. I was watching an interview with Stefan Molyneux a couple years ago where I first saw Jordan Peterson, and I really, really liked him, but didn't really catch on to him. And then a friend of mine, John Overdorf, a teacher and friend of mine, sent me a link and said, hey, Jordan Peterson, if you've never heard him before, is on with Joe Rogan for an interview, and it's really good. He had only watched a portion of it at that time. So I started watching it. 3 hours later, I was searching online to find out more about who this Jordan Peterson guy was. It was an incredible interview. And I'm thinking, man, what is it about this guy? Since that point, I've watched literally hundreds of hours of his YouTube videos. I got his book, his best-selling 12 Rules for Life. I just got the Maps of Meaning and watched some of those videos online too. And thinking, what is it about this guy? Why are so many young people and people of all age really interested in what Jordan Peterson's doing? And how he thinks. He thinks in a different way, and there's a fairness about how he thinks. But as somebody that uses their mind and does coaching with people and therapy and different things, the mind is really important in how it works. And the way he utilizes his mind keeps me interested. And I'm thinking, what is it about this guy? Well, not too long ago, a few months ago, another teacher of mine who I consider one of the smartest people that I've ever met, I've got a little reminder coming up, let me knock this off the screen. One of the smartest people in the world I've ever met posted a link on Facebook about Jordan Peterson, saying something about the way he thought. So I immediately wrote this guy and said, hey, look, I'd love to do an interview with you. I'm in Phoenix right now. I recently moved here, and he accepted, and I was going into the Georgia area anyways, and I said, look, I'm going to fly out a few days early, rent a car, come up and see you. Let's do an interview. And he said, okay. I just got back last week from Georgia and edited up this interview and listened to it, and it is incredible. He really gives some amazing insights. The man's name is Jerry Stocking. I've been studying with him and listening to his stuff for about 20 years. And he has a similar effect on me, probably more so than even Jordan Peterson, because I've been studying him so long. And Jerry goes into all different kinds of things. The great thing about Jordan Peterson is I'll give it to you this way. I heard a interview that he was doing, and he talked about his book, Maps of Meaning, which he wrote in 1999, but he just now, in June, came out with the audiobook version of it. 30 hours. It's a beast. It's 564 pages long, but 30 hours of listening. And he was talking about how he wrote that book. And this tells a lot. It took him 15 years to write the book. So he started writing that book, let's say 1985 or so. 15 years to write a 564-page book. He said he went through every line of it from like 15 to 50. And I've heard him say 15, I've heard him say 50, but a lot. Each sentence of that book. He said that's what took him so long to write it. He wanted to make sure he had gotten it right and that the person, the listener or the reader, was really going to get the message he was trying to convey. From listening to so many hours with Jordan Peterson, I recognize, wow, what he's doing is he's able to go and look at every line he's writing from multiple points of view, multiple people's points of views, philosophical points of view. When you listen to who he's read and who he's studied, I mean, he's a professor. He's been a professor at Harvard and now the University of Toronto. But there's something magical about the way he thinks. And so what I did when I with Jerry, who you're about to hear here in this incredible interview, he's really going to tell you how Jordan Peterson thinks, what's going on with Jordan Peterson, and how you can begin to think more like that. What Jerry does differently than Jordan is, they're both extremely fast. Jerry is more in his body than Jordan is. Not to say Jordan's not in his body, but Jerry will give you a unique perspective on that. But Jerry processes information with his other senses as fast as he does with his visual sense. And that's one of the things with Jordan Peterson, his visual and his auditory senses, the way he processes information, the way he goes internal, but the way he also listens to people is incredible and entertaining. And it draws your attention, it attracts your attention in. And that's what Jerry does for a living. He teaches people how to use their attention. That's what I do for a living as a coach, how to use your attention in a different way and how to open up your attention so you get more information that comes in. Jerry gets information from unique places. I've never met a man like him before. He's probably one of the most unique, if not the most unique individual that I know. I love unique people in this world. I love great thinkers, and he's right at the top of the list. Pretty amazing. So you're going to enjoy this interview if you watch it the whole way through. And notice what happens with Jerry as he talks about Jordan Peterson, how he accesses his senses. He's fast, extremely fast. It's like having the fastest computer in the world, being stuck on an old laptop from Windows ME or something, and then being on the fastest computer in the world. The difference is incredible. So what Jordan does, what Jerry does, is they process information differently than most people do. When I do my coaching with people, it's finding out how people process their information and what are the little things that are getting in the way that's got them stuck, and for them to then access different parts of themselves to open it up to get clear again. Jordan does this well. He's also a clinical psychologist, Jordan is, and Jerry's been working and coaching with people. He's written many different books, all kinds of audio products, and he does seminars. He's talking about retiring. So I kind of want to introduce him a little bit more out into the world to get more of the way this man processes information as a human being. I think we all got something to learn. So get excited. You're going to learn a bunch of secrets about Jordan Peterson in this interview. And give me your feedback. Let me know. I've also talked about 4 or 5 other people that want to do this interview. It's just connecting with them and getting there. But I figured if we started off with Jerry first, you'd be really interested in how great thinkers, how people that process information at a level of understanding that can add to all of our lives. And the more we learn about these people, the more we can learn to do it ourselves. And that's what I'm interested in, learning it myself, but also to teach it to you in a way that you can begin to learn to process information like that. And I think that's why so many people are interested in Jordan Peterson. So enjoy this interview. Let me know what you think. And if you're interested in more of these interviews, this is Mark J. Ryan. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
The Jordan Peterson phenomenon secret. This is his secret. Almost nobody thinks in public. Almost nobody is open enough to actually search for what they want to say and find it. Most people come from a point of dogma. They come from a point of already knowing. They come from already decided. They come from their beliefs. They come from what they think is true. Jordan Peterson simply doesn't do that. Over and over again, he consults his own database, his own knowledge, which is vast, of what's true in that moment, and then he honestly as he can, says it. This means that you never can tell what he's going to say, and this attracts huge audiences because they don't know what he's going to say. It surprises them, it surprises him. It means he doesn't have to remember a lot because he just can check in with himself and say whatever he happens to say. Whoever meets him with a prepared argument has to lose because they're boring, because they're repetitious, because they're more like parrots, and he's more like a creator of what he's saying. There are an awful lot of kids who do this. That's why they call them kids. Little kids do this. Most adults have adopted some sort of anthem, some sort of dogma that they stick with, so they don't do this anymore. Jordan opens himself, putting himself at risk. Most of us adults have learned not to put ourselves at risk. He puts himself at risk, and it's fascinating to watch video after video of him because though his delivery is very much the same, what he says changes. This has resulted in the right-wing Fox people adopting him as their own, the left-wing people adopting him as their own, the central people adopting him as their own, because we don't know what he's going to say next. We can't tell what position he's going to adopt on a regular basis. It makes him a fascinating human being. If you want to, pick this up yourself. When somebody asks you something, rather than pretending that you're on a game show and you have to respond as quickly as possible with what you consider to be the truth, pause. Find out what you actually think. Even if they just say, "How are you?" Find out how you actually are and answer the question. Don't just say fine. That doesn't contain any information. Sure, that's a social joust, but don't joust. Jordan doesn't. You don't need to either. Present yourself as a thinking, available, open human being, and then have a conversation. You can begin this in your home with people you love. You can do it in the workplace. You can do it virtually anywhere. All you need to do is get curious what you're going to say next rather than having it prepared already. Do a little search of what in the world might I like to say, and then find out what you say. Don't say it in your head first. Say it out here first. Along with that will come a huge degree of trust. Jordan Peterson trusts himself to speak. And yet he never knows what he's going to say. He doesn't have prepared answers. That makes him fascinating, and it'll make you fascinating too. Dare to not know and find out when you're speaking. That makes speech and self-expression a creative act. That's what he's doing, and he's gotten rewarded by so many hits on YouTube simply because nobody else is doing it. That's an opportunity. Do you have questions, or is that okay?
No, just I hope you keep it short.
No, that's all right.
So you talked about the idea that Jordan's free and he finds out what he's going to say. But
I didn't say he was free.
Okay.
He doesn't know. And then he finds out what he's going to say right there in real time, interacting with the person.
So what?
As a matter of fact, that's what I'm doing.
Yes.
Yes.
You're exhibiting it now.
Yeah, that's what I do.
What is not there that most people are aware of that keeps them from doing that?
The fear. He has the same fear of making a mistake or being wrong that we do. But in the face of that fear, he doesn't back down into dogma, into his truth, into some pre-recorded message. Most people especially like you watch somebody on a book tour or something like that, or a speaking tour, they have pre-recorded messages, and they just deliver the pre-recorded messages, and then they go to the next city and deliver the pre-recorded messages. But if you watch most people, they do that in their lives. They get a little story or some little experience that happened to them, and they tell that story to everybody they meet for the next 2 weeks. Or if they won the Little League game 40 years ago, they're still telling people about it today. So they get a little bit of something and they keep repeating it. The idea is to live such an ongoingly creative, unpredictable life that you have new stories all the time. Because today, fascinating things happen to every single one of us. And everybody says, well, what happened to you today? And they say, nothing really. It's not that nothing happened to them, it's that they didn't notice that they're interesting. It's that they don't notice the twists and turns, the fascination of what took place with them. We're all incredibly interesting. And Jordan Peterson dares to know that he is. Because he wonders what he's going to say next, and he has no idea. When you wonder what you're going to say next and have no idea and still do it, you become really interesting to yourself and really interesting to others. Yeah. And then you naturally are interested in them. And they aren't used to anybody being interested in them. And Jordan catapulted himself to the limelight with the one thing about pronouns, but that's beside the point. I mean, it's smart to have done that. But we all need this in our own lives. We need to sit across from our spouse or sit with our kids or sit with ourselves and not know what we're going to say, and then out comes whatever it is.
One of the things I really like about him is he's not afraid to be wrong either. So he'll present information out there, or if somebody presents something contradictory, he'll say, that's a really good point, and I haven't thought enough about that yet. Here's where I'm at right now with it, but that's really good, and I'm going to spend some time with that to go through that, to look at that.
The willingness to be wrong is a necessary contingent for self-expression. It's okay to be wrong. As a matter of fact, it's damn fun to be wrong. Or to even just say, I don't know. Not all the time, because take a stand and speak something. But he doesn't have any problem being wrong because he's already decided or discovered that he's fascinating and interesting. He knows that a lot of the time when he speaks, something interesting is going to come out of his mouth. Interesting to him. And then it's a secondary gain that it's interesting to other people. I don't think he saw that gain coming to this degree.
So he's had enough experience of going through these processes over a period of time that he's becoming more and more interesting, and more people want to know who he is. I think you're saying to the listening audience that one of the secrets is start to explore it, get past these blocks yourself, get past these fears.
Well, watch out, because you just embedded the idea that he's done this enough that he's getting better at it. I assure you he's not better at it than when he started.
Okay.
He was this good when he started. Now people are catching on and people are interested. But at the same time, a few weeks ago I saw a comedian who was incredibly fresh, interesting humor. I was dazzled by his humor. It turns out he's been working for 30-some years on cruise ships, and he's just ironed out such good humor and such unique humor, but it's the same every single time. Jordan is doing something really different than that. He's creating it each moment. This would be like that comedian walking onto the stage, having no idea what he's going to say. Instead, he's totally choreographed everything. So that's the opposite of it.
Gotcha.
Jordan is he's done his homework, which is important in a case like this, because he's arguing ideas or talking about ideas. So he's done his homework. But from the very start, he dared to express himself. He put what he can learn ahead of what he already knows. Most of us put what we already know ahead of what we can learn. So if he goes to a conversation with somebody, he's very interested in what he's going to learn, not so interested in what he knows already. He isn't there trying to prove himself. He's there trying to improve himself. And consequently, he gets better and better and better and better. It's a constant learning because he's committed more to learning than he is to already knowing.
Yeah, that's a great distinction. So we've got all these millennials. His audience is big, young men, millennials, but his female audience is growing dramatically.
Is it? I didn't know that. I knew his male audience was big.
It's really starting to take off. You just talked about that recently. So with this going up, but the thing is, I listen to him, his dialogues are 3 hours long, and we think of millennials as not having a good attention span. What's happening that they're staying with these 3-hour conversations, this long format?
It's really simple. They aren't 3-hour conversations. They're moment-to-moment conversations. And moment-to-moment is not 3 hours. If you ask someone, whether millennial or not, to sit for 3 hours, they're not interested. Nobody wants to sit for 3 hours, except maybe opera goers. But each moment, they don't know what's going to happen. So each moment, it's a new conversation. Each moment, we don't know. So it isn't. It's only 3 hours if you look at it that way. If you look at the moment to moment, it's this moment and this moment and this moment. Their attention span only needs to be 1 moment. So they don't experience this as 3 hours. They experience it as a series of interesting moments.
And that goes with the research. Ellen Langer did a bunch of research on that, and she said new and different is what keeps the attention span of a human being. You want to keep somebody's attention?
Yeah, novelty.
Novelty. New and different novelty.
Yeah, something new popping into attention reminds us that our attention is a useful tool rather than simply a parrot repeating the same words.
So that the audience, really, if they keep in this novelty, this new and different, they learn from it.
Well, hopefully they would start picking this up as a way of conversing themselves so that Jordan Peterson doesn't become the exception who's able to do this, worshipped by throngs of people who aren't able to do this. Ideally, they would discover how to do this themselves, because certainly they have the ability to do it. Anybody has the ability to do it. But they have to put what they can learn ahead of what they already know. They have to dare to express themselves freely and not hide behind their dogma.
And it seems, like you said, the left, the right, the middle, whoever's listening to them, they stay tuned because of this. And it seems like it's for lack of a better word right now, a technology that everybody can get together on if we learn to do this. Even when we have our differences, the idea of what I'm learning is more important than what I know brings us together.
Yeah, we could, to put it in simple words, we could call it being true to the moment.
True to the moment. I love it.
He's being true to the moment. And naturally, that's going to supersede political orientation. It's... Years ago, when I started leading workshops, I thought everybody wanted to be in the moment because people talk like that. Then I discovered that it's the last place they ever want to be, because in the moment you're naked, in the moment you're unprotected, in the moment you're available, in the moment you're open. Jordan Peterson is a voice for being in the moment. At the same time, he has some limitations. Because in the moment, he consistently picks his mind as something to depend upon. He seldom accesses his sensations or his kinesthetic indicators. So he's saying, be in the moment and be in your head. I shouldn't be saying this, but those are contradictory, because if you're in your head, you're not really in the moment. But he lives so much closer to the moment than most people that they have a tremendous amount to learn from him as far as daring to be closer to the moment. He's not delivering a stump speech like politicians do from one stop to the other. He's selling original thinking in the moment. Imagine having an argument with a spouse in which both of you are creating what's being said in the moment. It would be it would be vital, it would be thrilling, it would indicate your individuality and yet your connectedness. At the same time, I don't know what Jordan Peterson's relationship with his wife, but my suspicion is she doesn't want to have him think one more time. Because deeper connections with people has to do with a lot more than simply thinking in the moment or near the moment.
Yeah,
my guess is she wants to say "shut the fuck up" to him, but that's just a guess.
And then what? If he shuts up, what would she want to do next?
Yeah, that's you might touch, you might do something other than that.
So when I saw you putting out something on your Facebook about Jordan Peterson, I got really excited because I wanted to do an interview with you about that, because I saw how talented he was and what he was doing with just thinking in his mind. And knowing you for years and going to your seminars and studying your material, you doing the same thing with all your senses. And so the magic of, bringing people's awareness to say this is possible with what you can do if you really stay close to the moment with your mind, which is basically concepts. What if you go to your body, and you're hearing and you're listening and just all your senses?
A particular word comes to mind, and it fits me rather well. It's incredibly indulgent. Because in the moment, there's no pressure. In the moment, there's no drive. In the moment, there's no motivation to be somewhere else. In the moment, it's purely blissful exactly as it is. So this is really the essence of indulgent. It's the best luxury.
How do you indulge? How does the audience learn to start indulging? What can you give? You're great with exercises. You're great with. What would somebody do to start indulging in the moment fully?
Whew.
Beginning step.
I've spent 35 years teaching that, and I like your question. Number one, and I'm going to come up with 5 odd ones for you, and of course I don't have any idea what they are. So here's number one. As Byron Katie would say, don't believe your thoughts. Number one is don't believe your thoughts. When you have a thought, don't believe your thoughts. The purpose of your thoughts is for your own entertainment. It isn't to be right. It isn't to prove a point. It isn't to find the truth. It's for your own entertainment. When you don't believe your thoughts become humorous and fun. They become quite enjoyable. Number two, it's impossible to overstate the role of novelty. Whatever you already know how to do differently. Seek out what you don't know how to do. Learn to speak a different language. Talk on the phone with the opposite ear. Vary absolutely anything you possibly can. In your life.
Even just a little bit, right?
Even just a little bit. Put a different pant leg on first. Anything you can vary informs your system that you're more interesting than you thought you were. That you're much more interesting. Number 3, don't ever do what you have to do. If you have to correct somebody, shut up. If you have to go to work, stay home. Don't ever do what you have to do, because the only way you can find out that you don't have to do anything is don't do it. Free yourself. We did away with slavery a long time ago, allegedly, but it's alive and well in every household and every corporation in the country. People perceive, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do this, I have to do that. If there's nothing you have to do. Shockingly enough, the world keeps going round, whether you do it or not. I think I not only want them to say yes, and I love that one. And notice that you weren't comfortable with how long it was taking me to come up with one.
Yeah.
It's part of the fun. Not only say yes, but also, and it doesn't seem, I don't know, it's all right, I guess. Be kind. Really, truly, err on the side of kindness on a regular basis. These are mean times. Exercise your ability to be kind. Along with that, kindness and anger balance out in the liver in Chinese systems. Take care of your body, take care of your liver, and be kind. That's number 4. And number 5, I think, might have something to do with it's odd, but put your eyes up a bunch. You have a number of different senses that you can play with. You can play with seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, feeling. You can play with all 5 of those. But most people, in our culture for sure, and other cultures as well, get really stuck in hearing. They pay attention to the thoughts in their head that come up as an internal dialogue. If you instead put your eyes up, you tend to get into pictures, and there's much less mischief, much less heaviness, much greater speed in pictures. In other words, look at the clouds a little more often. Look at the ceilings a little more often. I used to have a client who was a therapist, and she was a brilliant therapist in that corporate types would come and visit her. What she said didn't really make any difference, but she was tremendously in her pictures, in seeing things. And these heavy-duty corporate people would come into her office thinking and all like this. They would leave her office happy and up, and it made a huge difference to them. They had just submerged into a whole world without so much judgment, without heaviness, with just simply lightness. It's worth remembering that we are light, and so we might as well be light, since we are, and that's what we get out of our pictures. That was nice.
I was shutting up.
We're doing better.
Yes.
Are we?
Oh man, this is.
We've taken off. I mean, these 2 are much better than the previous one.
Yeah. Where did you go? You're in a whole nother place.
I am. I left evaluation and just went to enjoyment. Went to loving you, and the video disappeared. That's a very nice place. I'm sitting in Georgia in my house with your company. Erroneous thoughts entirely disappear. I have the freedom to make up whatever I want, however I want. which is a freedom that our founding fathers suggested we had. Funny, they proposed we had the freedom to pursue pleasure. Pursue's the mistaken word there. We have the right to have unlimited pleasure each moment.
Indulgent pleasure.
Indulgent pleasure each moment. I'm sorry for Jordan Peterson because I think when he walks off the stage, he keeps thinking. That's too bad. Because to live the way he does, the way he presents when interacting with other people, if he did that with himself as well, on an ongoing basis, and started to expand to his other senses, his approach would vary much more than it does. Currently, you can turn the sound off on his recordings, and he's doing the same exact things every single time. So he's unpatterned at the level of content, and at the level of process, he's still very patterned. And you said, where did you go? It's lots of places. That's what he does. Seamlessness has to be earned. And seamlessness is important, which is a place with no borders, no boundaries. Then we have to earn it by, among other things, daring to live without the stops and starts we use to define ourselves. We need something to end in order to evaluate how we did, but nothing ever ends. So then we pretend it ended, so then we could put a pretend evaluation on it. And that's just not really the flow of things. It's not how things work.
Well, let's hope Jordan Peterson sees this, and I just wonder what kind of impact, if he started incorporating those other senses in.
He's a very smart fellow. It wouldn't surprise me. It doesn't look to me like his success is going to his head, which means he's probably got a lot of other sticks to go. That would be my guess.
Yeah, he was asking Joe Rogan about that. He's like, because Joe says, what are you going to do? And he says, I don't know, Joe. I've never been here before. Tell me, you've been here for a little while. What do you do? I'm still trying to figure this thing out. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, and Joe Rogan speaks very nicely of it, because he says, all of a sudden, lots of people started viewing what I do. I don't know what happened, but suddenly they started viewing that. But I mean, Joe Rogan has a very mixed background. So one of the things he did was he did all kinds of things. You learn a lot from doing all kinds of things, and you exhibit skills that are going to serve you in the future. I think what Jordan Peterson's saying is, I do one thing over and over again. And Joe Rogan's done a lot of things.
They're a good match. Joe said that of the 1,200 interviews he's done, that Jordan's interviews were his favorite. Which is...
That's nice.
I think they complement each other.
That's nice, and yet I've seen him do a number of interviews, and he's able to make everyone look like his favorite.
Yeah.
Did you, I don't know if you saw that link, Hamilton Morris?
No.
Hamilton Morris, as Judson says, is a guy who will take any drug you give him. And they're talking about psychedelics, and he's very knowledgeable. I have to send that to you. Between 1 hour and 18 minutes, and for about the next 10 minutes, they talk about iboga. And among other things, they say, who in the world, nobody would ever take this recreationally. I do. But yeah, I mean, in that 10 minutes, you'll hear about the king of these shamanic medicines. It just sends shivers all up and down my spine when they're talking about it. Hamilton Morris says, it's just a fascinating molecule. It's just he's a chemist. It's an unbelievable molecule. It's just not what anybody would expect there to ever be. Got it. That's how I experience it.
He just hasn't met anybody that has your processing power to be able to take that molecule.
Yeah, I would not say that in the face of Iboga or ayahuasca or San Pedro. My processing power is quickly exhibited to be nothing in particular.
But you're able to maintain it as...
I say yes. I say yes. And I say yes some more. And one of the things is to learn from what's going on with you. Because I went, after an overdose of 36 hours lying on my back, getting up once, I decided that the thing to do was, when I take it, make sure I've peed, make sure I've vacated my bowels, make sure I don't have to get up. So the last time I did it, I made sure I got up about every 20 minutes. I just had to get up. I had to get up. I peed so many times in that 24-hour trip. I peed so many times without ever having to pee, because I would get up and go to the bathroom because I had found a place to hide, which was lying there. And if you find a place to hide, don't go there anymore. Really, don't go there anymore. Because we didn't come to Earth to hide. We came to Earth to flaunt ourselves. I found a place to hide, just lying there and proving to myself that I didn't have to pee. It was very funny. One of the things I added to that is massively enjoying the trip to the bathroom. Just really enjoying it as if it was some lifelong odyssey on the way to the bathroom. Because why not? Especially if you're tripping out of your mind. Why not? Usually if you go to the bathroom, you don't have any company. In this case, I had Iboga, the great-grandfather of Roots, as company. So I didn't have to go to the bathroom by myself.
Yeah. And how many times does Iboga get to go to the bathroom? You allowed that to happen, right? And what a reward you got.
Yeah. Roots need company, too.
Yeah.
Thank you, dear.